Hello, you're listening to iFanboy Pick the Week podcast, episode 965. My name is Connor Kilpatrick, and I am here, as always. Can't shake him. I've tried. Josh Flanagan.
I'm a sticky individual. I will. I'll follow you because I don't want to have to find new people, and I like you. So
Especially
that's
after you go to the diner and you get pancakes because you like to roll around in the maple syrup.
Yeah, I know. I like that it's sticky. So a lot of times I will forego actual maple syrup, and I'll just go with the cheap stuff because it is stickier, and that's my thing.
That's what I grew up eating. Anyway, let's not talk about pancakes. I'm gonna get real hungry real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to iFanboy. 2025 is our 20th year of doing this show and our 25th year of doing iFanboy. And that means every week for 25 years, one of us has picked the book they like the best. Call it the pick of the week. We also talk about the other books of the week, the patron pick, the listener mail. We have a good time. It's fun for Josh and I. If it's fun for you too, great. But primarily,
it's the only thing we have to go by.
Primarily, we just hope it's fun for us. Here's your spoiler warning. Exercise some caution this week, Josh. You had the pick of the week.
I did have the pick of the week. I had a light to moderate stack, which I thought was nice, and I believe that I had several options. Now,
it was a good week. I thought it was a good solid week.
Yes, absolutely a good solid week. But I think that there we go. The best book for me, and it was instantly when I read it, was Jenny Sparks' book 7. This is the final chapter. Don't quote me on that. I believe very strongly
this is of this one. Yes, it is.
Yes, this volume of Jenny Sparks, in which
should there be more Jenny Sparks, we can't be held accountable. But this is the final.
Version of Captain Atom has realized the full extent of how powerful he is, but has also gone a little nutso. And so we have this exploration of how to deal with somebody who is deranged and power mad. But you can't sort of reason with them, and so they're terrifying, and that's kind of what this is about. And in this, the whole thing basically takes place in a bar. It's a black box theater production. They're all in the one room, and I don't know. For a lot of this, I think the idea was just like, what am I looking at? Like, I didn't ever find like I was meandering. I understood that I didn't quite know what was going on, but I was moving towards a thing. And also I did like the tone of it. I liked a lot of I've said this before, like a lot of times the Wildstorm characters feel out of place, but because this was a different kind of story, I actually was very interested to see how Jenny Sparks would be integrated, because what's interesting is that she's supposed to be the spirit of the 20th century, which is over. So according to the canon, which was established, she should be dead.
She was dead, wasn't she? Did she die?
I believe so. So she's here, whatever, too. But like, and a lot of times when we talk about it, like these characters, when put up against straight DC characters, are just kind of weird. Like, it doesn't work. Yep. Sometimes it does. I mean, I've seen there was a little bit in there where Midnighter was with Batman. I was like, that kind of worked okay. But basically we have this sort of ending, which has been that they just they're basically convincing Captain Atom over infinite repetitions that he's the one who's the problem. And once he finally figures out that, then he remakes the world, and then he goes away because it's like a big mind fuck, basically. But I will tell you that there is a moment in here, and I have to find the page where one of the, like, basically all the people in the bar just finally have it up to here. Like, the whole time they are scared of Captain Atom, so they're kind of acquiescing to him because they know that he could blink them out of existence or whatever. But at a certain point, they just get tired of it. And
well, who knows how long they've been in there?
Right, exactly. So I think the rest of the world is gone at the beginning of this. Like, outside the door, nothing existed. Right. Batman, Superman sacrificed themselves for the greater plan. There's nothing going on outside, and basically Jenny is poking him over and over and over and over again until he loses his patience a lot of times. He's trying to be cool, but then he's like, can't you see what I did? Open your eyes, can't you? Want to? And then one of the ladies at the bar just goes, she's not small. And he tells her to shut up. And then she goes, she says, I'm forever scared of who I am. Do you know how tired you get to be living your life running away from yourself? And he's like, that's a stupid question. And she just goes at him. And I was like, that's really good writing to tell somebody who's so full of themselves, but is clearly also, they're they don't have self-confidence. They're over projecting or whatever. I don't know. I just really like the writing there. I thought that was a really nice moment of these people who hadn't spoken up the whole time, and it didn't even really work. It kind of, he burned them all up. It didn't get through to them. You just had to keep going forever and ever and ever. And as an ending, I won't be like, oh man, this was an amazing ending, but I really appreciate it. I thought it was not so much clever, but at the end I was like, that worked. I think these are the right choices to make in it. And throughout the whole thing, it's this weird book. I don't know how to describe it. I can't. I know I liked it, but I don't know why. And I know that is not the position I want to be in right now. But
well, I was going to ask. I mean, you did text me and say you had a front runner, so I guess it was at that moment that was that was the moment for you.
And I really, there was other books I really liked, but it breaks a lot of comic book rules in a way, because it really is just people talking in a room. Like
totally.
That's not
It's a
supposed to be
room.
how a comic book works.
It's
But
a bottle episode.
yeah, but the writing was really strong. I thought the art,
was
it
wonderful.
took me a little while to get used to it, I think, but I think its weirdness was a great choice. Its weirdness, made Jenny not look like every other blonde woman in comics. Not bad, not whatever. It's just she has a face.
Well, they all look very unique. I think Jeff Spokes is terrific. I think he's a really. I've not seen his work before, or if I have, I didn't clock it. Sometimes these people make leaps, and we saw Bruno Redondo before, but we didn't really register him until
way
Nightwing.
Back in the day. Steve Epting,
right? Like he wasn't very good when he did the Avengers in the '90s, but he was great in the 2000s.
If you have page 28 of your digital reader, though, if we have to tag him for something, it's that he can't draw the trunks. That's a mini skirt. There's no. He's got a long torso,
which is weird because on page 30 he's got the regular trunks.
But whatever, like that's a joke. It's a.
I'm wearing a T-shirt that says nothing makes sense, nothing matters, and I think that's what I apply to almost everything Tom King writes. Not that it's bad, obviously it's not, but I can't put any of his stuff into continuity. This doesn't make any sense in continuity. Wonder Woman doesn't make any sense in continuity.
Well, it's not supposed to. Well,
they're terrific books. This was Black Label, so it doesn't matter. I liked this miniseries a whole heck of a lot. I don't know how I feel about this ending yet. I was a little surprised you picked it, not because I thought it was bad, because I thought it was a little obtuse, but that could also have been the fact that I am dealing with a cold. But I thought those great sequences in it for sure. And
yeah.
I was a little confused as to what happened in terms of them constantly making him remake the world and learn again and again, if that's what happened. But I thought on the whole, this was a really strong mini for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll be honest, like I've talked to Tom a little bit about this, and he, he has told me, like it's a weird book. And just sort of some of the stuff that he was going, and maybe I'll bring him on the show or someday or talk about it or whatever. And that's why I know if I had him on, he would talk about it. So I can sort of, but because I know him kind of, I look for him in the stories, and he's sort of, he's in there, like he, and so I find it interesting to compare this stuff to what is in the other books of himself that he put in there. And, there's certain stuff that people go through and put it in here. There's a fairly strong metaphor here that I'm not going to give away, that I didn't realize at first, but that has also changed since the beginning.
I didn't see. I mean, I hate when this. I know what you're talking about. I don't see it anymore. But I like that there's a place for Tom in this industry where he can do these books.
I think it's amazing,
and they seem fairly successful. We don't know.
That's
anymore.
The part that's amazing.
Like, I
don't get it,
but
he keeps doing them.
He does super crowd pleasing stuff, and it's great. But then he does really weird stuff like this in like Danger Street, and it may not always be 100% successful. I think this book was probably closer to the mark than Danger Street was. But man, I just love that they exist, and they keep letting him do it with these terrific top tier artists telling these strange stories, because we're in a place, not just in comics, but, increasingly in media in general, where weird stories have no more place in the market because they are not content for the mill. They're not going to allow. They're not something you can't read this book while scrolling on your phone. You'll be fucked if you try. But
do people do that?
I don't know. That's what people do with TV shows. I assume.
I know
comics too. But I just love that these books exist. They really do.
Yeah, I am sometimes I'm surprised that it seems to be as successful as they are, and it gives me like this tiny spark of joy that there's still people who appreciate, thoughtful things. I just love how thoughtful they are, and I love how they're just not the same. They're
Yeah.
not the same stories, and they're different approaches. And you always know. We used to say it about Grant Morrison. I don't think Tom and Grant Morrison are the same, but they're always
They take swings though.
they
They're
take
the
the
same that
swing and
way.
they're always just taking a different approach. Like everything is, and they're both actually in their way, they're both actually rooted in the comics that came before them. Shoulders of
Mhm.
standing on the shoulders of the giants kind of thing, but in totally different ways. But I do think that those are related. The qualities of those are similar.
Yeah, I it is interesting. Um, Black. This is not at all like Black Canary that's coming out right now,
At
and
all.
you wonder what he's got next. He seems to always have something coming out.
Mhm.
I know he's busy working on the TV show right now, but he seems to always have comics coming. Like every time I turn around, there's new ones out, and
The
so
the the pandemic was a great fount of creativity, though, which you've
well,
seen
yeah.
sort of the greater burst of.
I imagine
So,
if you were, yeah, as a writer, you probably banked a lot of scripts. It's like
mhm.
remember when Bendis was like 100 issues ahead on Spider-Man or something? That was a fun time. Anyway, I thought this was a really interesting week. I thought I had a lot of books that I liked a lot. Um, and I didn't make a pick of the week because I didn't have to, and sometimes there's just not one that sticks out. But I really liked the Holy Roller #9, the final issue of this miniseries, from
I
Rick Remender,
really liked this book. I could
Andy
have made a pick of
Samberg,
the
and
week.
Joe Troman, starring Andy Samberg and Judd Hirsch. Um, art by Roland Boschi. I thought this was a really look. I'm sure this is a pitch. Rick's now a Hollywood guy. Andy Samberg is one of the writers and is the main character. I'm sure this is a pitch for somewhere. But it was a really fun comic, and I'm fine with that if that's what happens. And it was a unique, funny superhero story. This guy fights crime with bowling balls, and he's the holy roller, and he's got his super genius sidekick and his cranky old dad, and he's fighting neo Nazis in his hometown. It's very low stakes while being very high stakes, and I thought the Roland Boschi art was terrific, and I thought this was a really funny, fun issue, and I'd be happy if they kept going with this character. But I'm also happy if this is all we ever get.
I think what's been cool about this is that when it started, the first issue was sort of bombastic, and I was like, I am not sure what this is at all. And then as it went on, it got better, and it sort of, I don't know if it found its soul, but
Mhm.
it developed it one way or another, either on purpose, like that was the way. But at the end, like this is a superhero book because it's about like doing the right thing, and you don't kill somebody because they are,
Right.
and now Remender, because he's Remender, we got to have his cake and eat it too. Where
Right.
the hero
Oh,
says, "I'm not
totally.
gonna kill that guy," and then he's savagely murdered by his son.
Someone else
Um,
does. That's fine.
no, that's totally well. That
That's what I mean. Like, oh, I didn't kill him. You
yeah,
know. I
pudding.
thought this was. I mean, like,
The pudding thing is the most Garth Ennis thing I've seen in a comic book in a long time. It's
yeah,
very arse face,
the one character who got really badly hurt can only say the word pudding over and over again. He's like Groot.
but he's free. He's happy,
Hey, he wasn't happy in his old Nazi life.
right?
I think it had a lot of fun, inventive ideas. Um, and it felt like a Remender book, but also had a little bit of like the Andy Samberg sense of humor in it.
Let's not discount Joe Troman, who's in
I,
a band that I can't remember.
I'm, I'm not. I just don't know. I know Rick's work and I know Andy Samberg's work. I don't know
Right.
Joe Troman's writing,
There was
but
there was some jokes in like I cannot tell you what they are, but like there were bits of it that was like that's actually there was a thing that was like that's actually funny
yeah,
because a lot of times it's like, oh, you'll chuckle at something, but I think there was something where I don't know. But then like at the end, it's really sweet. Like he goes to give
well,
he
that's a
gives
Rick.
he
That's a Rick
gives
Remender book.
his dad a hug. I know, but like sitcom ending sweet.
Yeah,
Where he's like, I know I forgot your rule on hugs going too long, and he cries and he's like, it wasn't long enough. I mean, that is an 8 is enough episode ending.
right.
That is which I liked. I think it worked.
Unless Judd Hirsch sells it, he can sell it,
Yeah.
make it sweet. I thought I don't know. There's Rick is prolific. He's constantly putting books out, and they're all fun and new, much like we just said about Tom.
Mhm.
But man, I've never read a book like this. I've
Nope.
never read lots of superhero books.
If
And I
it
read
was not Rick Remender and you gave me this pitch, I would say there's no way that book's not a piece of shit. You told me every other thing about it. You told me exactly what the plot was, and it was just somebody you didn't know. I'd be like, nah, I'm not doing that.
So I'm at the page where the bad guy gets killed, and I totally forgot this is how it worked. And this was a terrific page where it's 4 panels with our main character sitting in the foreground giving a speech about how he has to be the good guy, even against Nazis. While in the background, the main character is strangled to death by someone else. He doesn't realize it's happening. It's the juxtaposition of the two
Yep.
of that. It makes it really funny. Even though it's happening, it's horrible, but still, like, it's just a heartfelt speech about, I've got to be the hero. I can't kill a guy just because whatever. And then in the background, slowly lumbering up and strangle, and it's over.
Chork. It's actually right after that. There's a cheap joke, and then it turns into a better joke. Is the woman says, "I would have made you happy had I given you anything, even anal," and he says, "Plenty of that where you're going, sister," which is like, that's a funny line for prison. And then a second is like, "But I'm going to a women's prison." Oh, they'll find a way. And then the pudding guy goes, "Ugh, pudding." He's like, "Sorry, I forgot that's your sister." Pudding. Like, it was just like,
Yeah,
it wasn't funny, and they kept tacking things onto it
right.
that eventually made it funny.
They put hats on hats on hats.
Yeah.
I laughed when the one of the things that's happening in the whole book is that his dad and his best friend / sidekick / tech guy have become buddies. So they live
Frenchie.
together, and they're playing video games at the end. And he's telling Frenchie all kinds of stories about his youthful indiscretions. And he's like, and then when Andy Samberg shows up, the guy says, "Your mom used to get down," and I just laughed like it was a good line. Oh, this is the least of the crazy shit he's been telling me. Your mom used to get down, and it's a legitimately funny book, and the art's been great. Like Roland Bosch has always been great, but
Oh, sure.
what Roland Bosch does here really, really well that I haven't seen since Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I'm blanking on the artist's name.
Jeez.
Georges Jeanty.
Okay.
Was that he does a really good job of cartooning the characters, and they look like the actors, but they are not screenshots, and they are not traces.
Mhm.
And they're not DVD. They're cartoon drawings, but you always know that's Andy Samberg, and you always know that's Judd Hirsch. He's a really
Some
good
of the
artist.
Star Wars artists did a really good job with that
Yeah.
that
But
run at Marvel.
I'm kind of bummed it's over. I was always happy when the issue came out.
I think it was the right amount.
Yeah.
Didn't go too long. Didn't leave me one. I think I got the right amount, and it could come back.
Yeah.
There'll always be need for the Holy Roller.
Let's take a quick break, pay some bills, and we'll talk about some more comics. All right. Do this and this. Let's talk about Zatanna. There's another Zatanna book. We just had a Zatanna book.
It's a torrent of Zatanna riches.
Zatanna Sans.
That's good.
This is another miniseries. This is I think a 6-issue miniseries from Jamal Campbell, writer artist, terrific writer artist.
Did it all. Other than the
Mara.
lettering.
Yep. Look, this book is not going to break any new ground. It's not going to blow your mind. Even in a way, I think that the last miniseries was kind of, it didn't blow our minds or break ground, but it felt like it a little bit. It was very different, sort of push the envelope. This is much more standard, but I liked it. I thought it was great. I think Jamal Campbell's a really great artist. There was some really terrific pages in here. I really liked the double page spread that sort of told her life story. I mean, with no words. That was a really nice page. There's not a lot happening. She gets stabbed several times and betrayed by her assistant. But like half the book is about like the behind the scenes at her magic show. So we don't even really know the story yet. There's some character, this white woman. What is her name?
The White Lady.
The White Lady,
or something like that.
Yeah, the Lady White.
Lady White. Yeah.
But that's it. So we don't really know what the story is, but I liked looking at it quite a bit, and I thought it was fun.
I think it was absolutely beautiful. I think Jamal Campbell does great work and storytelling and inventive panels and all that stuff. That those Naomi books were beautiful.
Yeah. And the Superman books he did.
I felt like yeah. I felt like the story was a little meh. Just the sort of setup and the
Nothing has
pacing of it.
happened yet.
I know that, but like
That's what I
just
mean. Like nothing's happening. We don't really know what's happening
I
yet.
know, but I need to know. It's the
I
first
know.
issue. I need to
I'm acknowledging that's a problem.
right. But I just felt, like the Mariko Tamaki book that we just read, it was really, really, really well written. And this
Mhm.
wasn't badly written, but it wasn't up to that level. And so to immediately skip over to her, and in a sense, it's the same thing in that she was doing her show in that one and some shit went down, and she had to get
Mhm.
pulled out. And this is what this is. She's doing her show and then
Right.
some weird shit went down. And it was
That's
just
kind of
like,
every Zatanna story,
I know, but
is that
but I
she's on the road doing
just
her magic show and encounters trouble. That's kind of like her
because
deal.
that was so good. And
Yeah.
listen, this art is an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that other book's art was a 10 out of 10.
Right.
And that book's writing was, and probably an 8. And then this one's like a 6.5, 7. And I think that coming straight on the heels of it so soon, like I was up here with Zatanna,
Oh, sure.
and this felt a little more like, okay, it's just like a regular sort of story about it, but with incredible art.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in on this. I love Zatanna. She's one of my favorite B level
Yeah.
characters. But Jamal Campbell's terrific. We never really get enough of his art. He's always on a book for like 2 or 3 issues, and then that's
Mhm.
it. So if we get this whole miniseries, it'll be really nice. And I'm willing to give, because the story hasn't unfolded yet, I'm willing to give it almost kind of the rope to hang itself. That's the wrong metaphor, but
I
some
will
leeway.
I will probably read the next issue. Unless it's a stupid week. I have to make a decision. But
I
mm,
like that Zatanna is just like us in that she's sitting in a dressing room and they're like, "You got to be on, and you got to be on," and she like snaps her fingers and she's in costume on stage. She doesn't take her no time at all. That's like how we live now. I roll out of bed, I throw on a nice shirt over my pajama pants, and I join my Zoom call. It's the same thing.
I just have to walk my dogs first. That's
She
pretty much.
looks a little bit better than I do in her outfit than I look in mine, but still, it's the same idea. Batman and Robin year 1, number 5. Look,
Yeah, what else do you have to say
I'm going to
here?
keep saying great
Okay.
things about this book, because when a man is in a drought, for as long as he's been in a drought, and he comes along, a book like this comes along, I'm going to keep talking about it, even if it's the same thing over and over, and you have to just deal with it.
You're
But
wandering the desert, dying of
for
thirst.
years,
For
I
years.
don't love Clayface. It's one of my things. He's like one of my
Yeah, I don't
least
either.
favorite
I don't not
Batman
like
villains.
him.
I don't dislike him, but he's just like, I don't get excited when I see Clayface.
Mhm.
But Mark Waid and Chris Samnee do some fun things with him here, where he's pretending to be, this guy that uh is a friend of Bruce's, and he's like, throwing this party and clearly gonna rob everybody. Bruce realizes it's not him. So one of the things I like best about this book is that Bruce and Dick are characters. It's not just Batman and Robin.
Mhm.
They spend as much time in this book as Bruce and Dick, which is something for a lot of characters, we've just thrown their secret identities out the window. We never spend any time with them outside of their costumes. And so I like that we spend time with, Dick at school, Bruce at the cocktail party with his snooty neighbors. I like that. It makes it a more rich, interesting story. But then we have the classic early Dick Grayson story where, he thinks he's better than he is. And so
Mhm.
he's run off. In the past, in Robin year 1, it was against Two-Face, and he got the bad end of that stick. Here, it's this general mobster character who has now taken him prisoner. When, Robin almost defeats like 10 guys, but he doesn't, and then gets taken prisoner. He's now robbing the boy hostage again. I just think there's so many classic elements of Batman that go on here. And I think Mark Waid did a really good job of this week also in Batman and Robin. No, Superman and Batman. Nope, Batman and Superman. He just nails this tone that works really well. I mean, I always thought of Mark Waid as a Superman guy.
It's DC
And
guy.
but he's a DC guy. I think there's a unfair sort of camp split sometimes where like these guys are good at Batman and these guys are good at Superman, and they're not really usually the same guys.
Mhm.
But Mark Waid's really, really good at Batman. He was really, really good at Superman. He's really, really good at Batman. He's good at
I
all of these
like
characters.
I like that his Bruce Wayne here is and his Batman here is not, we talked about this, he's not the Grim Avenger. He's not
Right.
he says, "I managed to wane the principal," which you read it and you kind of like you let it go for a little bit,
Right.
and then the very last panel of that page, he's like, "Did you just use wane as a verb?" And it's like it was just a nice little beat. I
And
thought
Alfred's great in this, and we don't get Alfred anymore. So this
Alfred is
is
great in this. That's true.
it makes me sad to think we're almost at the halfway point
And it's
because
also like it's a little bit about like it's hard to be a parent.
yeah,
And especially with like a kid, like this kid he's super intelligent. He's super capable, but he doesn't understand that he doesn't have, emotional control or impulsivity, like all
right.
these things. But like the fact is, like it kind of like Bruce isn't all that mature. He wasn't parented. He's only had to worry about himself. He's had
Yeah.
like it's just there's a lot going on, and you don't need to go over all of it and talk about it. But if you watch what's happening here and you do start thinking about that stuff, like this is a tough position for Bruce to be in. It's a tough position for Dick Grayson to be. If you think of all the trauma those people have, and they're
Right.
not really talking, they're going and doing this thing that is not good for you. like
No.
crime fighting, it's not.
I
It's
mean, for your
not
cardio, that's about it.
yeah, I mean, but
Y-
it's not. It
I like
doesn't
that
mean things are going well.
I like that they explore that without making it overt. Like
Yes,
we don't see Bruce gnashing his teeth about having to be a dad, but it's all subtext.
right. Exactly. Like it's there, and it's there, and you know how to read it, but you're still watching them go through this whole thing. I don't need that to be this, but as a subtext, I think it's really well laid out, and it shows in the quality of the book, but without beating you over the head about it, without the wailing and the gnashing of the teeth, etc.
I love it. I love it so much. Let's talk a bit about how you might enjoy this show. If you enjoy this show and you think to yourself, "Hey man, I want to help. I like it." Then we got news for you. Patreon.com/iFanboy is the place you can help us out. All kinds of great things happening there. As a listener-supported show, we try to make it worth your while. So when you go to Patreon, you directly support the show. You become part of a great community on Discord and Facebook. You get to vote on the Patron Pick. You get a Patron Power live on the show if you give it the proper level. You join the monthly Patron Hangout, which is happening this weekend. And at $10 or higher, if you give that level, you get an ad-free version of all of our shows. Plus, you get this show a day early on Saturday. Plus, you get access to the iFanboy after show on Sundays where we talk about every book we didn't read. No, that's the opposite. We talk about every book we did read that didn't make this show's rundown.
Yeah.
So we try
Let's
to
talk
give
about
you,
every book we didn't read.
yeah, all of them. It's a lot more.
Now, if I may, you are a man now struggling with illness, and you're fighting through
Yep.
this, and it's lovely. Why don't I read this part? You take a moment, take a drink.
Rest. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
lay down.
yeah, you do that. I'll take it
All
from
right.
here.
Okay, great.
I don't remember where you were in that, but
I'm at the last part. The
so
discount sign up
there's
for
a
the full year.
discount if you sign up for the full year, and you can now receive gift memberships. Send or receive them. Go to patreon.com/ifanboy/gift. It's 2 slashes for more info. Again, just it needs to be said. It cannot be said enough times. Thank you so much for everybody who is, will be, has been a patron. It makes it's enormously wonderful to us. ifanboy.threadless.com. It's our merch store where we have 20 designs, t-shirts.
They're having a sale right now, 20% off.
Yeah, they will do those just not just t-shirts, sweatshirts, different kinds of shirts. Is it the tri-blend? Is that
This
nice?
is a tri-blend I'm wearing.
Yeah, that's the stuff. That's a 3/4 baseball, possibly the finest shirt design of all time. We have all those. We've got more on the way this year. 7, as a matter of fact. Like I said, there's a sale right there. ifanboy.threadless.com. If you want to not deal with anything, but you would like to support the show, ifanboy.com/support is just there's a PayPal link. That's what's there. If you want to support the show, then that's the way to do it. ifanboy.com/Amazon is a general shopping link. It's a affiliate link. You know how they work. Doesn't cost you anything. Helps show it if you go through there and purchase the things you need.
Let me just say randomly at this
Okay.
section for no reason whatsoever. If you are in charge of a giant media company who feels like they need to drop billions of dollars on media properties, and again, apropos of nothing on this section, we are open for business, open for listening. We'll take any meeting, any call. If you decided, hey, we're not getting enough in this sector, Come talk to us. We can. We'll make a deal. We will make a deal. We'll let you have it. You can have it all. With this little,
I
the little
mean,
button up there.
low 7-figure or no, low 9 figures.
Well, 9 figures. It doesn't have to be
Low
a
9
billion.
figures.
We are cheap.
No.
No.
I mean, honestly,
Low to mid 9 figures.
I mean, if we're talking about 100 million, I'll talk.
We can figure out a
I'll
way to make
talk.
it work. We'll make it work.
I moved ahead. I didn't actually mean to click on that, but there we go. Bookshop.org. Finally, you'll find those links where it's appropriate on our website. This is a way to aggregate online book ordering from actual brick and mortar independent bookstores. Wonderful. Booksplodes, things like that. You'll find those where you can. We stick them on the website wherever it is possible. Let's return to it. Let's go back to it. I don't know how to take that thing off there.
I was a little surprised that Aliens vs. Avengers #3 wasn't the pick. I mean, I loved it. I know how much you love Aliens. It was a very good issue. I was a little surprised not to see it, but
I mean, as I said, I really didn't have much doubt about the pick, but I very easily could have said I could have made many of these picks. I was a very strong, very solid, Aliens versus Avengers. That already was a pick, I think.
It was. Issue 1 was.
Right. Holy Roller, Batman Robin Year One, any of those. Could have been that way. I mean, basically here we get kind of, we were like, all right, let's escape to Mars. And as an alien, the way that these things go with the xenomorphs, they show up there. Hey, where is everybody? The difference here, because it's a Marvel book, Mr. Sinister has found a way to, use them for his purposes, which is, I guess, to kill everything. I forget. And you're like, well, how's he still alive? Well, he's got I don't want to give everything away, but he figured out a thing to do with the alien egg. It seems like we lose a couple more of our characters in this one.
We do. Well, at least it looks like it.
Yeah, there's definitely like every alien movie, basically one person gets away at the end.
Sure.
I don't know who it's going to be here.
It's clearly got to be Captain Marvel.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Wolverine
it's always a woman,
this.
so it's always going to be a woman, so it's got to be Captain Marvel.
There's a scene where Wolverine first shows up and he has a dark beard. And then there's another scene where he has a light beard. And then there's another one where he has a dark beard. And I says, what's going on here?
I had the same thought. When I first saw him, I thought, oh, great. And then they showed him in the close-up in a white beard. And I thought, wait, what? And then I think on the very next page, his beard's dark again. And I thought, is that Dakin? I think
the white beard is the Firelight.
I hope so, because again, like I talked about previously, Wolverine ages very slowly. He should not have a white beard in the future. I gotta say, the moment of the week for me was Mr. Sinister's gun that shoots facehuggers.
That was a very comic book moment.
The glee in his face. One of the things Esad Ribic does really, really well is these over emotive faces with giant eyes, and just the glee that the Sinisters have from shooting the gun that shoots the facehuggers at people is just spectacular.
Actually, let's talk about this page for a second.
Yeah,
because top of the page is this great sort of just profile view of the gun going off of the wonderful 2. Then a man's very surprised face, again in the same way as somebody
coming right at him
takes a face hugger to the face, which is the right way. Then we have the excited in the middle, and then in the background there is a Sinister who's supposed to be yelling, but that to me looks like a healthy yawn.
He's bored.
He's had enough of all of this. This is wrong. That's terrifying. If I can read in the comic book for him, if I had to watch that in a live action setting, I might turn away. Because the facehuggers are really, it's the scariest part of the whole thing. It's not the evisceration. It's the facehugger. When they're did you watch the last one?
It's what they're doing into your mouth. Yeah, no, I did.
The facehuggers all over the crawly.
Yeah, not good. So we've added the X-Men to this business. We're down another Avenger. I still feel like there's not a ton more issues, but I still feel like maybe Captain America survives and the Hulk, and I know it's probably not the case, but I think this is only like 5 issues or 6. I don't remember what many it is.
I mean, it can't be that many. It's just too labor intensive for an artist of that caliber. I did like when they showed up. I was like, yeah, Emma would be the one. She goes into diamond form, can't
Yeah.
hurt her. Like armor can't get to her.
I like there was
Wolverine.
ones that you couldn't touch.
Yeah,
It was
that made
smart.
sense.
All right, let's talk about another X-Men book this week, Weapon X-Men #1, a tie into One World Under Doom, written by Joe Casey, old friend of the show. Have not seen a work from him in a long time.
Look at this, Joe Casey and Chris Cross.
Penciled
I
by
mean,
Chris
come
Cross,
on.
Mark Morales on inks, the awesomely named Yen Nitro on colors, and Corey Pettit on letters. And I was excited to see Joe Casey's name. I haven't seen it in a while. I don't think I've read a book of his since. Oh, he wrote that Image book,
It's
didn't he?
that Image book, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
With the robot arm, the old man.
Right. What was that called? That was the one that Jim made pick of the week.
Yeah, Jim did make it pick of the week. Yeah. I don't know.
I can't find it on my app, but it's here somewhere. So, we just had the Wolverine and Deadpool movie. And since Deadpool knows he's a fictional character, there's a lot of jokes about that in this book. It's Wolverine, Deadpool, Cable, Thunderbird, and Chamber teaming up to go into Latveria. And it was just fun. I'm in a
Chamber.
Doom.
Chamber's a Joe Casey creation.
Yeah, Chamber's in there. That's he's the only sort of not big heavy hitter there. But it's a strike force full of characters that don't really like each other but have histories together. Before Wolverine and Deadpool, Wolverine and Deadpool and Cable were teaming. They had books together. They also had a movie together. So it's a little bit of meta fun. I really liked it. I thought it was an incredibly fun time. I would give you more details, but I cannot find it in my app. There's too many books here.
There's too many books. What are you gonna do?
Too many books. What are you
Can't
gonna
do it. I can't have it.
I'll look for it. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. But speaking of Doctor Doom, One World Under Doom tie-in, Doom Academy. So now Strange Academy is called Doom Academy because Doctor Doom is now the Sorcerer Supreme, and this story is written by Mackenzie Cadenhead, a name I don't know anything about. Drawn by Pascal
But when I hear Mackenzie Cadenhead, I think of Vampire Weekend. I don't know why.
I don't know who Mackenzie Cadenhead is, but I thought this issue was very fun, and I was impressed.
Mackenzie Cadenhead has definitely been to the Hamptons. I was actually a little I was like, oh, Pascal Ferry. I was like, that's a heavy hitter on this. And I was kind of
this issue?
Little like I said about Zatanna.
I like these characters a lot.
I do too, but having read the version of this, that Scotty Young wrote for a very long time, it's just so excellent. And this felt a little more YA, if that makes sense. Which the other book kind of was, but it had kind of more of an edge that this kind of didn't, I guess. It's that little sort of difference between somebody who's at the top of their craft and somebody who's maybe on their way up. I thought it worked. I think this whole Doom thing is a great story, great idea. I'm very into it. I like that we don't really know if he's a good or a bad force, really. But in here, there was kind of some cool stuff about how just right away.
Well, we know he's a bad force.
No, I know, but that's not true because he could be all sorts of things. Now, probably
he dips his toe into being good, but then he's bad.
I know, but he doesn't necessarily. I don't know, but then I was going to say there's a thing here where you have the school newspaper kid who's been named Scoop, try harder, and his dad is like the lead censor, and so he basically
the propagandist of Latveria.
Yeah, he's the Goebbels of Latveria, and he actually was a lower guy who did that. He basically acknowledges bad shit has happened here and people were killed and we lied about it. Which is maybe a way to.
I thought this was good. I thought it had a little different feel than the Scotty Young book, but I liked, so they've taken them to Latveria, so it does look like they're going to Hogwarts. There's some jokes about that, but I did like the characters. There's some tension. It's not all the characters we knew before. Some of them are not here. We've got new ones. The main girl's got a new roommate. She's hearing voices, and they all kind of know this is fucked. But
they also have to go do it because it's what you have to do.
School.
Yeah,
they are students of the Sorcerer Supreme, who is now Doom, so they have no choice. I like the Pascal Ferry art a lot. I always like his art. It's a different feel. It's a little.
I like his art. It's a little.
It's a more grown up.
Well, I was going to say it's also a little over processed in terms of the sort of digital finishing. Feels a little much. I would like the coloring to be better.
The original series had more cartoony style. The characters were younger. Here they're a little bit older, so the art's a little bit more in that vein. They're not adults, but they're not little kids. I liked it. I'm looking forward to more. I like these characters a lot. I can't tell you all their names, but I do like them.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I thought it was good for the most part. I don't.
Okay.
It just wasn't over the top. It's fine.
Those are the books we're going to talk about. But at patreon.com/iFanboy, every patron gets a vote to add a book to the rundown. This week we had a book that jumped out to a giant lead, a second book that caught that book, ran it down, and ended up winning by a very small margin. They kept going like this towards the end, and it was very stressful. The winner was Godzilla Heist, #1 from IDW, from Van Jensen.
Jensen will often ride shotgun with Caden. What's its name?
Van Jensen also has a house in the Hamptons.
Mackenzie Cadenhead, yeah.
But Van Jensen was a big star in the 1950s in westerns, and then
that's true.
Hamptons. Kelsey Ramsey on art, Heather Breckel on colors. I know none of these names, and Cindy Schnock on letters. Godzilla. So the core concept of this book is not totally new. I remember watching a really, really terrible movie called Hurricane Heist about these guys who plan a hurricane in the middle of a giant heist in the middle of a giant hurricane to use the hurricane as cover. This is basically. Did
they cause the hurricane?
Or no, they just knew it was coming, so they're gonna use it as cover to do their heist. Really, really bad movie, but good idea. Here, the main character uses Godzilla's attacks as a cover, initially to rob a casino, but then is drawn into a bigger score by some mysteriously named criminals. I don't know what to think of this book. What did you think of it?
I don't think it was bad. I don't think I was terribly interested in it. Van Jensen spent some time at Marvel, so there's definitely a mature structure sort of thing that's going on here, but it's very much it's like the Heist by numbers, but with Godzilla. Yeah. And so if you like that kind of genre and it's a thing, you're kind of gonna get what you want. There was I can't remember what it was, but Skate or Die Godzilla, or Skate and Destroy, like whatever that one, the last Godzilla miniseries.
Oh, you hated that one, yeah.
That was the worst comic I've read in a decade. I mean, it was like, why is this professional? So if I'm comparing this or whatever that last, The Great Gatsby one we just sort of read before, wasn't it Godzilla? I forget what it's called.
Oh, yeah. You didn't like that. I kind of liked that one, but yeah.
Did you keep reading it?
No. I kind of liked it.
Right. So I was saying, like on a continuum, that was weird, but not necessarily poor. Like this was fine. It was well done. I wasn't all that interested in it. I really didn't quite like the art. I was
going to ask you about that. So I went back and forth on the art. I sometimes liked it, oftentimes didn't.
Yeah.
Or thought it wasn't right for the story. But then sometimes thought it wasn't good at all. So I really went all over the map.
I think that's actually correct. And it just, like in some places, it felt a little too half-baked. And I will tell you that right away, the first thing I see is the cover. And I did not like that cover.
Yeah.
It really, I was like, this is not ready for prime time. There's things about it that are good. I can recognize that. But and the figure in the front.
It doesn't say who drew the cover.
It's the same. I think it's the artist inside because it doesn't give you a difference.
The signature doesn't look like that.
Oh wait, no. On the side, the cover is by Bob Eggleton. It's to the left of the UPC symbol.
Oh.
Either way, so that's my first instinct because I was looking at it and I was like, this isn't. I don't know. Maybe it's a style of like an old Japanese Godzilla poster. I don't know.
Looks like a Renaissance painting.
Oh, actually, can I give you like a really petty kind of complaint as I started reading this?
Yes.
Here we go. It's a petty lettering complaint. Okay. I don't like it when the letters are over stylized. And in this one, everything's supposed to look kind of like it's aged a little bit. And so the type in the lettering boxes is like it's like it's fading off in places like an old typewriter.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard to read. I don't
Yeah.
care what you do with anything, you can't make the letters hard to read. It's a big pet peeve of mine. I got the big iPad. I mean, we've talked about this. I haven't had
You
to
got the
use
glasses, the iPad?
I haven't had to use my reading glasses since I got the iPad. So like it's a big, and like this one I was like, ah, crap. Like it's just like it was too monotone. Like there's pages in here that are actually there's good. I think there's some really nice, like the Godzilla stuff's actually pretty good.
I think the Godzilla's the best part of the
Mhm.
drawing. I wonder if that's how Kelsey Ramsey booked the gig was
Mhm.
they draw Godzilla really well, but I don't know. The rest seemed too loose and sketchy for me, or at least for my taste, at least for the story. I thought the main character was fucking annoying.
Yes, that is a
Um,
really good point, and also just really not stereotypical because I think it's supposed to be an Indian
he's
character,
Indian,
British,
yeah,
but not stereotypical like that, but
British
just
Indian. Yeah.
like the overconfident heist character. Like there was
Yeah.
nothing interesting about it. And I know there's a twist here. They sort of said what it's going to be, and then they hinted it again at the end, and so there'll be more to the character. But for the most part, I was like, this doesn't impress me. Like I guess it impresses me okay if it's Black Cat, but in this, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're right. There's some characters where you like it, but for the most part, someone like this who I don't know, if they are cocky and 3 steps ahead of everyone else in the book, then what am I reading it for?
Mhm.
You know? I'm not
Like you need
I'm
to
not rooting
be.
for them. So,
Yeah, I'm not on his side. So I mean, I don't really have any other than the lettering thing
right.
and the cover. Like I don't really have any complaints about it. I don't think it was badly done. Um, but I don't find myself terribly compelled by it. I think if
Yeah.
you like these elements, you might find something interesting about it. But it is very much paint by the numbers. Like if this was a movie about a heist and you watched it and it had like Miles Teller in it, you would be
Yeah.
like, that movie was fine, and you would never think about it again.
Right, and that's when it skates on the charisma of the lead. That's
Yep.
like a
Yes.
lot of things can overcome problems on screen because you've
Mhm.
got actors who are charismatic or funny on their own, but on the page, the read's really annoying.
Mhm.
I didn't love the art. I'm looking at a page now where the characters are like all just the proportions are all
I
off.
don't like, yeah, the designs on the other villains are poor.
It wasn't the worst comic I've ever read or the worst
No, it
Godzilla
totally
book, but
wasn't.
it was enjoyable enough. There was just enough where I was just like, I don't like this person. They're on every page, and
Mhm.
um, I don't know. The art didn't do it for me in this instance,
But as I'm looking
but it
through it,
wasn't
like
bad, and the ideas were not bad.
there's good stuff. I actually really like the way that the artist does the cityscapes.
Yep.
There's a shot like when because they go to London, and there's a shot of like the London Eye along the Thames, and it's sort of reflecting. It looks really good, but like the characters aren't great. The
Yeah.
designs on the bad guys are not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, is what it
The
is.
artist has skill,
Yes.
but needs to spend more time on figure work.
Yeah.
Let's do ratings on Godzilla
Ratings.
Heist. Ratings out of 5 stars. It's not a 2,
No.
but I don't think
Is
it's a
it a
3. I don't think it's a 3 either. I think it's like a 2.8.
I was gonna say 2.6.
I think that's fair
And I
right
think
there.
that's I really don't think I bagged on this too much. I think it is
Mhm.
what it is.
It wasn't bad, but I also wasn't like for me. I'm a fan of like the old school Godzilla, like the original stuff, and I really liked the new movie Godzilla minus zero. Was that it? I liked
That
it.
would equal Godzilla or Electro.
Godzilla minus one. I don't remember, but I liked it a
I
lot.
think
It was
it's
really good.
minus
If you haven't,
one.
I think it's minus one. If you haven't watched it,
I
it's really
meant
really
to.
good. But this ain't it. This ain't it. So the two more questions we asked. One, did you read this without it being patron pick,
Nope.
or would you have? No.
No.
Although I would have read it because the vote was so close. If it had lost, that we would have still had to talk about it on after show.
Mhm.
Are you sticking with Godzilla Heist? Will you read number 2?
No.
No, I won't.
Nope.
Not into it. But not terrible.
Terrible.
Not the worst
If
of
you
this.
like those elements and you like Godzilla and you like
Yeah.
heist movies, I would say you should try it. I would. I think that's you tell you what, that title does not lie. That title is exactly what you're getting here.
Hurricane Heist came out in 2018, starring Maggie Grace from Lost and Ben Cross and a bunch of like character actors who you recognize. But I can't.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I never.
5
Almost
out of
there's
10.
if there's a natural disaster in it. I mean, it seems like it's something I should look at.
Kind of. And it's a good idea, right? It's a good idea.
It's an idea.
No, I think it's a good idea. The idea of using natural disasters as cover for a heist is a good idea. I'm gonna stand firm on that. Patreon.com/iFanboy is how you can vote. You can go there, become a patron, and you can vote every week to add a book to the rundown. We thank all the patrons who vote. But right now, we're going to reward that special patron who gives it the $5 or higher level. They get a superpower live on the show. Josh, take it away.
Our friend Nawid Ahrary. I'm sorry. I looked up. I was like, how do I pronounce this name? How do I best try to pronounce this name? And I got to Nawid. It's Farsi in origin, by the way. So I just want to say I tried. Nawid Ahrary.
Research.
I did. I really wanted to. I was like, you know what? We've had some issues with pronunciation. I want to put some extra time into it. So I'm virtue signaling. Nawid can transform himself into any adult male regular cast member from network sitcoms airing between 1986 and 1990 at will.
Oh, okay.
Adult male.
Any adult male character.
Regular cast member.
86 and 90.
Network sitcoms airing from 86 to 1990. So you got
Dan Fielding,
Coach.
Oh, Coach.
Bob Saget, or sorry, Danny Tanner. Officer Carl. Nope. That's Die Hard.
Well, he was still the same character,
right? Dauber.
Cheers. So you could be Sam Malone,
Mr. Twinkassetti.
Oh man, did you just spend your whole time looking up these TV shows?
No, this is all happening right now. I wrote this down weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So that was the fun of it.
Alf counts. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it does.
Adult male regular.
Alf ran from 86 to 90. So Valky Bartakamus.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's Mr. Twinkassetti.
Or Cousin Larry. I mean, whatever you
Larry
feel
Appleton. Or Appleton, as it is pronounced in Meepo.
You've got a plethora of classic characters you can use in any situation.
The question is, what do you do with this? How do you apply this in a meaningful way? I mean,
so do you get this? Do you get the skill of the character? So if I turn into Dan Fielding, could I be a lawyer? If I turn into Sam Malone, could I throw a baseball or
I mean, what I said was can transform himself into.
If you're coach, could you coach?
Listen to the wording.
Okay.
Any adult male regular cast member.
Oh, so that's the actor.
Yeah, it is.
So
listen. I'm but a vessel. I am but
a party trick. It's a party trick. It's not,
I mean, you could make a heck of a lot of money appearing at middle-aged birthday parties. Like if you went and like he lives in Vegas.
You know what you could do? I don't know if Nawid's a good actor or not, but it's save a production a lot of money on flashback VFX, and I can play young Ted Danson in this flashback.
Right.
I could play young Craig T. Nelson in whatever he's doing now.
Are you looking for Fred Mulligan from Empty Nest? Is that what you were hoping for?
I think he passed away. But I used to watch Empty Nest. I watched everything. If it was on,
everyone.
If it was on, I watched it. Oh man, Empty Nest. I haven't thought about Empty Nest in a long time. Who else was on Empty Nest?
It aired after Golden Girls. And why the fuck do I know that?
the Joey Zuzu was on Empty Nest. Yeah. Christian McNichol, David Leisure, Paul Provenza, Marsha Warfield, and Estelle Getty.
You could be, you could be? You could be Boner.
You could be Boner. Oh, they had a Golden Girls crossover.
Yeah, there was a crossover. They were like in the same town. They were at the same time.
Listen to the notable guest stars in Empty Nest: Don Adams, Lonnie Anderson, Mayim Bialik, Garth Brooks, Angie Dickinson, Stephen Dorff, Morgan Fairchild, Zsa Gabor, Bobcat Goldthwait, Phil Hartman, Shirley Jones, Carol Kane, Joey Lawrence, Mark Lynn Baker, Jane Lynch, Wendy Malick, Jerry Orbach, Matthew Perry, Geraldo Rivera, Doris Roberts, Deborah Jo Rupp, Peter Scolari, Yardley Smith, Jeffrey Tambor, Danny Thomas. I mean, Adrian Zemed. This is like everyone is on the show.
Those were just A, aging actors who needed a thing to do one week, and B, those were the people who became later. They were just character actors going from show to show for a while.
And that's what you did back then. You made a good living.
Mm-hmm.
Doing an episode.
It's absolutely one of my favorite things about watching old shows. Is seeing the people who show up like before they like ER is fantastic for that. So is Friends for that matter.
All right. So thanks for being a patron, Nawid. Enjoy your power in the spirit it's given. Now let's move on. We have a voicemail. We've had one of these in a while. You can send a voicemail into contact@ifanboy.com if you want to. Let's play the voicemail, and then we'll answer the question.
Hey, iFanboy. I love a Josh Solo episode. I can't be the only one. But I have questions. Josh likes them? No? Yes? More prep time? Less prep time? Is it edited? It doesn't feel like it's edited. It feels like it's stream of consciousness. Is it one take? Do you take breaks? So many questions. But mostly, I want to know Josh's enjoyment of the Solo episode because I do enjoy them. They're fun, they're different, and it's a nice change of pace. And he always cranks out some extra listener mail, which is nice.
Not taking this personally, Drew.
Well, you don't do them.
He just said he likes the Solo one, so why am I even here? I can take them on the evening off.
Listen, you don't just because 51 nights a year you have hamburger.
He got a lot of questions for you, and I can tell you the answers. Whatever's the least amount of work, that's what's happening. He's not doing multiple takes of that show. You get one take and you're out. Do you record directly into Audacity?
Yeah.
Can you do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best quality.
First of all, thank you very much.
Talk your way through the process of the Solo show.
I have a very
you didn't do one last year, I don't think.
I don't know. I don't
usually do once a year, but you didn't do one last year.
I do them, and I think nobody wants to listen to this. Like
people love them.
Sometimes it's for fun, and sometimes it's out of necessity, and sometimes it's a little of both. I always get really good feedback on it, which makes my ego feel good or whatever. So thank you, I appreciate that. But I think that it's one of those things like you don't want too many of them. I think if I'm listening, like I'd rather. Here's what I can tell you.
Oh wait, you did one last year. You did one. Sorry, you did one in April.
Yeah, it's the same amount of work. In fact, it's more, in the sense that like. The first time I did it, I thought, oh, this will be fine. I can talk. Talking for an hour and 10 minutes straight without a break I was exhausted and my voice was gone.
People underestimate how hard it is to talk for a living. You see those guys who have like 4-hour radio shows, and it's just it's tiring. It's mentally exhausting because you are engaged fully, and you're talking. Like right now, I'm having trouble talking because of my cold.
Right.
But even without the cold, like when I finish the show, I'm usually like pretty wiped in a good way, but still wiped. And this is just an hour.
So I like doing it because it actually does feel a little bit like an accomplishment. Like, oh, I can do this thing. And so people are like, oh, that was good or whatever. I'm like, oh man, I can do that thing. And like, that makes me really happy because I think it's a difficult thing and it's something that I want to be able to do. So that's cool. But, and I don't do multiple takes. I doubt it. I maybe have said something over again and then would cut it and move around. But for the most part, what I cut out when I edit it, and it's not much more than I normally do, but there's definitely places where I will start to like cough or like I'll have to like take a drink of water because I'll be talking for like 30 minutes and then they're like, and I'm like, I have to stop and take a drink of water and I'll cut that out. But for the most part, it's just stream of what it is.
So you turn on, so we're doing this through a program that makes this virtual studio.
Yeah, how this works with video, I don't know if that's going to be the same.
You're going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it on video, and it's just going to have to be through this instead of... Anyway, in the past, Josh would turn on our editing software because you can record right into it and just record it straight into that. And I would think it would make the editing easier because it's just you. You don't have to worry about crosstalk or you have to worry about...
A lot of that stuff I end up doing visually anyway. So I just look and like I'll be listening to it and I'll hear a cough or whatever, and you can pretty easily see where it is. I actually think I have to pay more attention in a way because it's just the one unbroken sort of line.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that part's kind of the same. It's kind of the same. It's not harder or easier. It's just,
Just different.
Yeah.
I've thought about doing it over the years. I like the conversation, but I've always, I mean, if it ever comes down to it, I would just do it if there was like, if it's a scheduling issue.
It's, I mean, like honestly, like it's a really fun challenge to do every once in a while. I wouldn't do it that often, but I like to like, it's like running a 10K or something. It's whatever this nerd ass version of that is.
There was that one year where you took back when Twitter was still a thing that was fun. You took Twitter questions and you answered like 50 Twitter questions or something crazy like that.
Really? I don't remember.
I have no. You solicited that, and then you just took like not 50, but like a lot of Twitter questions. You probably did like 20.
That sounds like a good idea. Before Twitter.
Well, thanks, Drew. And like he did, you can email us a voice clip. We used to have the voicemail line. We don't have any more, but hey, we like these. It's fun to hear the people's voices. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
You want to write in? If you want to send a clip in, please do. We have another email.
This one, I'll read it, and this one is because I just got to talk a bit, so this one will be a little more along your lines. I gotta find it. Good Lord. Ryan W says, I have been thinking about this for 30 years, which is appropriate for your anniversary, or for 20 years, which is appropriate for your anniversary. Ever since I was driving to the comic shop in 2005 to pick up Infinite Crisis. Which Crisis event was better? Do you each have a top 3? The list is Crisis on Infinite Earths, 0 Hour, Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, Flashpoint, Convergence, Dark Knight's Metal, and Death Metal, and then Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths.
There's more.
Thank you. Discussing this will help keep my mind off the fact that we are as far removed from Crisis on Infinite Earths as it was from the end of World War II.
Fuck off.
Wow.
Thanks.
Bringing in VE Day.
I take issue with some of these.
You might.
So, first of all, when I read the email, I was like, "What the fuck was Convergence?" I have no memory of that whatsoever.
That's good. I never heard of it.
But I mean, Crisis is not every DC event. So, they tend to have Crisis in the title to be a crisis, and some have been like retroactively made Crisis events. I think 0 Hour was subtitled Crisis in Time to make it a Crisis event, but really it's Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, and then I guess fucking Dark Crisis and Infinite Earths.
Wait, what about Identity Crisis?
Oh, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, technically, the crises have to have Crisis as the name. Like Flashpoint, I don't know. It's not really a crisis. Convergence, I don't even remember. Dark Knight's Metal, Death Metal, those were not crises. 0 Hour,
Convergence, like an emo band, like a post-hardcore.
But look, I guess we can take all these and call them crises for the purpose of the discussion. But I mean, obviously, the best crisis is Crisis on Infinite Earths. It still holds up. It's the granddaddy of events. It actually does what it's set out to do. It made it feel like a big, important, world-shaking. Nothing will ever be the same story, and it was for a while anyway. And nothing will ever beat it. I think. I mean, it's easy. It's Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, and Final Crisis. My top 3 crisis stories, which are basically the only crisis stories. But I guess Dark Crisis, Infinite Earths counts as the 4th one.
I gotta say, other than Crisis on Infinite Earths, the others, and I guess Identity Crisis for counting that, I have little to no memory of the others. I remember, I remember reading Final Crisis and Infinite Crisis, but it made no impact on me. I didn't usually. I just haven't been interested in those stories. Like there's something about them that's not.
I will say that, especially Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis those were like the last hurrah of the event as a big deal in comics for the readership. Like if you remember, we had Final Crisis and Secret Invasion coming out relatively the same time.
Final Crisis, it's Grant Morrison and J.G. Jones.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember that, but I don't remember.
Batman dies at the end and goes on his journey through time. And then Dick Grayson being Batman for a while. Anyway, if you recall, on iFanboy every day, we had Final Crisis and we had Sacred Invasion relatively coming out at the same time. And everyone, all of our, audience or whatever you want to call them, the users, our fan base was super engaged, super excited about comics. Every week it was a new chapter of one of those stories. We had tons of people coming to the website to talk about it and debate it, and it was sort of the last hurrah of that being a thing. And we talk about this all the time. For whatever reason, after that, events stopped having really any kind of widespread impact. Do you remember any conversation about Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths? I don't even remember what it was about.
No.
I read it, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. I could tell you about the other ones.
Mhm.
I can tell you that Infinite Crisis for some reason got a bad rap. I thought it was terrific. I reread it not too long ago. But probably 10 years
Zero
ago.
Hour had. I mean, you said they added time, but it had the elements of Crisis to it without saying.
Yeah, but it just wasn't called a crisis book.
No, I
at the
get it.
time,
But then Identity Crisis, it's called it. Not really a crisis, though.
Yeah, at 0 Hour, they added Crisis in Time to the subtitle to make it a crisis.
Because
story.
that seems more like a crisis event kind of thing, because everything is sort of
0 Hour, I
shifting
remember that
to
was Dan Jurgens, and that's the one where Ollie killed Hal, because Hal was evil at the time.
Right.
So he shot him with an arrow to stop. He was the bad guy.
By the way, that's what has to happen. That's the only way that goes. The best friend has to shoot
I liked
the guy.
it. I remember, it was very 90s, very early 90s, but I enjoyed it.
Is it early 90s?
I think it was like 93 or something like that.
Okay.
I'm just totally guessing off the top of my head. Let's
Yeah.
see. 0 Crisis was 94. So I was one year off.
Because I would have come in like
Dan Jurgens wrote and drew it. Ordway inked it.
I came back in like 97, and I was like,
Right.
I had missed it, but I knew like there were echoes of it still.
Yeah, Parallax was the bad guy.
Mhm.
And in order to stop him, Ollie had to shoot him and kill his friend. And that was good.
And then Kyle Rayner is born of that. Eventually.
I guess what? Well, he wasn't Green Lantern anymore. He was Parallax. I mean, he may have been already in that story.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Let me click on this title. That's too small.
It's interesting though, because like the thing is, like Infinite Crisis or Crisis on Infinite Earth is like it's the one.
Yeah.
There's no, and
it's the best one.
And comics will do this as well. They go, well, this was great. Let's do it again.
Right.
But I don't think it ever really,
No, I mean that's
close to
no, nothing will. But it doesn't mean it's not fun and worthwhile. I think from 86 through 2006, whenever Final Crisis, I think those were a good run of events. They weren't always great, but they were fun, and people talked about it and were into them. Not just on the DC side, on the Marvel side as well. And then whatever happened of 2006-ish or 8-ish or whatever that was, changed everything. But you had a good 20-year run where events did what they're supposed to do, which was make everyone excited, make the world feel cohesive, have people buy more books, spend more money, which is ultimately the whole point of all these events, and but gave them something for their money in return, which was an exciting, summer action blockbuster story. And for whatever reason, the audience is not interested in that anymore. And it's been almost 20 years of that happening. We had 20 years of people really into it. We've had about 20 years of people not being into it. So it's interesting. The last events didn't really move the needles. Mark Waid's Lazarus Planet wasn't very good.
I mean, put the metal in here. Like the metal and death metal seemed like it was a big.
Those were relatively recent too, but the last one was. But then there was a break, and then Mark Waid did one last year or the year before, and it wasn't very good. And then Marvel did a very similar one. It was very similar to that. It was the one we liked, the dark whatever it was. I don't remember. I'm dying.
Okay.
Anyway, Crisis on Infinite Earths is the best one. Everyone knows that. Come on, Ryan.
Come on, kid. Everybody knows that.
Thanks for writing in. I like talking about these books, and also we like the audio question. We want to hear from you. Contact at iFanboy.com is how you can write in and get on the show. If you want to be on our Media Explode show, put Media Explode on the subject line. And thank you very much. Let's talk about other shows we do. In addition to this one, this past week, just behind the show in the feed, we had our review of Captain America: Brave New World. Paul Montgomery, our former co-host, and I talked about it and reviewed it. And I thought we'd go half an hour. We went almost an hour, and there was a lot to talk about. So you can find that on the feed behind this show or on our YouTube page. And coming up this week, Talksplode.
Yeah, we have a Talksplode with Scott Snyder coming out. It's been we've known Scott for a very long time. Had him on a lot back in the day, and it had been quite a while. So I invited him back, and the long old chat. This one's just going to be audio. You won't look at our faces when that's going on. That'll be out later this week, and it will be plenty for you. For sure.
And then in March, because it's almost March somehow, We have our Media Explode, our post-Oscars special. Will come out the week after the Oscars. We'll talk about, the ceremony and the winners and the losers and what we thought, all that stuff. And then very soon after, maybe the week after, speaking of events, we have our Booksplode show. We're going to review Legends, which was the first event post-Crisis that everyone always forgets about.
I couldn't remember what the book was, so I just wrote Booksplode.
That's fine. That's what I mean. It's like everyone's forgotten it and they can't remember it. And some sort of spell has been cast, but it's John Ostrander, Lynn Wein, and John Byrne doing the first modern age event in DC. And we're going to talk about that. It's available on Kindle and Comixology if you want to read along with us. And then later in the month, we'll have our Watchmen Chapter 2 review that Ryan Haupt and I recorded like 3 weeks ago. So I keep forgetting it has to come out, but we recorded it a long time ago. So we're just trying to fit it into the schedule, and that's when that's coming out. So you can look for those coming up. Where can you find them? You can find our library of shows. There's over 1,400 of them at iFanboy.com. Wherever podcasts are sold. And you never miss a show or find out what the pick of the week is before the show comes out by following us at iFanboy Comics on Instagram and Threads, at iFanboy.com on Blue Sky. And individually, we are CS Kilpatrick on Instagram and J.A. Flanagan on Instagram.
Yep, that's true. I know it's me, but I lost my face on where it was supposed to be. Please consider writing us a review. Not about what just happened, although you could possibly go, well, sometimes they lose their way.
I'm barely holding on here. Don't review this one.
They really get back in. Anyway, you could write a review or leave a star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you do that thing. If you listen to Pocket Casts, you need to have subscribed and downloaded at least a few episodes before you can rate it. If you're like, I tried on Pocket Casts, it didn't work. Well, that's on you, buddy. We told you about it. You can subscribe to youtube.com/iFanboy, where you can watch the video version of this show that you are either looking at or listening to while not looking at. That's a possibility as well. As well as our many hundreds of shows, video shows we've done from 2007 to 2012. Finally,
I do want to reinforce that we are about 200 subscribers from 5,000, and I'd like to get us there. So let's put the push to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you don't watch the show there, fine. But if you have an account, it can't hurt to subscribe. It can only help us. And maybe you'll see something you didn't see before if you're not a regular viewer of this show on YouTube. But most of you have a YouTube account. It's the biggest streaming service in the world, and there's a hell of a lot of you listening. And so please consider subscribing on youtube.com/iFanboy. I'd appreciate getting to 5,000. Let's push it to 5K.
We've just passed a milestone here that I refuse to acknowledge. Let the boy subscribe to the show. All he wants is your subscription. Finally, you can join us at the iFanboy After Show, which is exclusively to patrons at the $10 or higher level, I think. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
And we will share our thoughts. It will look just like this if you're watching it, but it will be part of this. You can only do it where we will talk about the books that we read this week that we didn't talk about here.
Correct.
So that's patreon.com/iFanboy, as we said, for everybody. $10 a month and up.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. We have spoken about it before, and we'll keep doing so. We have donated to the Dream Center in Los Angeles to help with fire relief. Also, they do all sorts of other wonderful things for people who are down in their luck. And that's dreamcenter.org. There are many charities. That's just one option if you're able to help people in the wake of the fires or whatever horrible thing is happening this week. The people who are upside down on a plane and they need stuff, send it to them. It's a rough time. They don't need anything.
They're getting $30,000.
That's true. Thank you for listening.
My name is Connor,
and I'm Chad. You don't usually say that. I usually don't say it. So
it's everything is thrown off.
Yeah,
I almost would let you go first just to see what would happen.
I mean, you could have. I would have rolled with it. That's kind of professional.
I'm looking forward to feeling better next week.
I hope so.
Thanks for listening.